Hello, beautiful people. I know I missed last week. I did not upload, but I needed to rest. I needed that so bad to just chill out and do absolutely nothing. So the day that I was supposed to edit and upload, I just played video games all day. And I know I should really stop editing and uploading on the same day or scheduling it out because I tend to just schedule it out. I do not upload same day. I have learned my lesson with that. I need to get better at doing that just in general across the board. I just played video games and honestly, I don't regret a thing. I know that I needed that. It was a good time. And I actually just mostly played Forza. I got on, what is the sunny side for a minute. Anyway, today I want to talk about how we tend to overcomplicate things and how we just always choose the hardest thing sometimes, and we don't need to do that. And there is always different ways to do something, even if we don't think there is. Even if people say like, oh no, this is the only way you should do it, there might be another way to do it. Obviously, it depends on what we're talking about, but let's just be real. In most situations, there are other ways to get things done. And I do have a really cool example. But on the flip side, I do have another topic that I want to talk about as well, which is how trying to take shortcuts or the easy way out can also be detrimental. So yeah, I thought I would talk about two juxtaposing ideas today because that would be really fun. So let's get into it. So we as humans, we tend to overcomplicate things. And honestly, I don't know why. I don't have the answers for why we do it, but we do. We will overcomplicate any type of situation, dating, friendships, gosh, just anything. And usually the simplest thing is probably the path that you should go, but we always reject that. And we're all guilty of it, myself included. So I think everybody has taken a more complicated route. It's just what we do. I don't know why, but we do it. My example today is that this whole week I have been trying to learn how to make macarons. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm not French, so my enunciation is not going to be spot on. Macarons is what I typically say. If you're not familiar with what a macaron is, this is what it looks like. It is a cookie with it could be buttercream, it can be ganache filling, but it is basically a meringue. Oh, why did I say it like that? A meringue cookie, or the shell is a meringue shell, and you fill it with whatever you want to fill it with. It could be anything. And I absolutely love macarons. They are probably my favorite dessert ever. So it does make sense why I would want to make them. And I've been on a big baking kick. Like I have made banana bread, lemon loaf, cheesecake, and now I want to experiment with macarons. And I want to do tiramisu at some point, but I know I'm not going to eat tiramisu like that. So it doesn't really make sense to me to like go and make it like right away. But macarons is something that I've always wanted to learn how to make. And when I realized that it wasn't that hard, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this in a few hours. So let's do it. And one of the things that I ran into is that it's not that it's hard. It is that it's the process in where things can go wrong very easily. Like you can't have any oil on your tools. Like if there's any like leftover butter that didn't wash away on your mixer, it can disturb the process. It could make things crack. It could make things wrinkled. My macarons keep coming out wrinkled. So I was like, this is very interesting. Why does this keep happening? So yeah, it's not a hard process at all. Like I actually think it's very easy. I would say it's actually easier than making brioche in my opinion. Brioche is hard. I still have not mastered brioche. So it is one of those interesting things. However, I found out last night, today is Thursday, so last night, Wednesday, I found out that there's other ways to make a macaron, like the meringue process, which is egg whites pretty much. All you have to do is make it differently to make it more stable. And there are 3 ways to make a macaron or a meringue. So let's just go over the meringue process real quick. So there is French, which is the right way to make a macaron. There is the Italian way and then the Swiss way. I wouldn't say any of these are like easy, but they're not difficult either. I think there's just more steps. So the French way is probably the like easy way because it is kind of like, oh, you just room temperature egg whites, mix them, add sugar in it. Cool. Whereas the Italian and the Swiss one involves heat. But for some reason, the heat, or adding the heat, makes it more stable. So that got me thinking, why would I make it the French way when it seems like the Swiss and Italian way come out much better? For my bakers out there who are like, well, this is why I'm making a point here. This is not about baking at all. Since there are two other ways to make it, why wouldn't I try those? Especially if they do tend to be more stable. If there's less room for error in the Swiss and Italian ways of making macarons, why wouldn't I make it that way? You know, it's just something to think about when you're doing something. Like, if there's actually an easier way to do this, why wouldn't I do it that way? And I think about that with things like my content, for instance. Like, with my content, I do overcomplicate it. And I'm going to get into that in my next point as well. But I overcomplicate my content. For one, I don't batch my work. I do not. And I know that is a big problem. Like, I'll do it and then I just fall off. Like, I just can't bring myself to batching my work. I have gotten a little bit better now that I've incorporated carousels into my short form. Reels, I have not mastered the art of batching, but carousels are easy because they're photos and I have a ton of photos to use. Like, you can use anything for a backdrop. Like, you do not have to have like these amazing pictures to do a carousel. So that part is fine. But like, when it comes to reels, I cannot get it together. And I'm just like, I don't know what people want to see, but it seems like the things that people do want to see is always very simple. They want to see routines. They want to see the systems. They don't want to talk about the routines or the systems. They just want to see it, especially on something like Instagram. On Instagram, people are just like, yeah, I want the lip combo. How did you get your hair that straight? What do you have on your skin right now? Where did you get that top? One of the things with my content, specifically short form, I'm like, wait, I'm overcomplicating this. This does not have to be rocket science at all. Like, this can really be just like, here are the 5 habits I do before bed. Here are, the 4 things that make me happy throughout the week. Here's what I'm doing currently. And that is, today I'm baking. That's it. It does not have to be anything more, anything less. And people are like, ooh, how aspirational and inspirational. I don't get it. But maybe that's just because I overthink things. So I'm here for the really simple content, Okay, but that brings me to my next point. So we're going to segue a little bit. You shouldn't take shortcuts either. Sometimes the oversimplified way is not the best way. The simplified way maybe, but not oversimplified. And one thing I have done is use ChatGPT to help me with my content. And at one point I was, like, when it was first like big, I was actually using it to create content. And I realized that this doesn't even sound like me. This isn't my voice. And it was actually making it really hard for me because for every idea I made in ChatGPT, or ChatGPT made for me technically, I couldn't match that idea because it wasn't me. It wasn't what content I wanted to put out. Now, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of AI because I honestly don't know. Like, I don't know. It's a big gray area. So I'm not going to get into that. You can leave a comment about it if you want to, but if I'm being honest, I'm just hands up. Like, but don't be rude in my comments about it because no, we're not doing that over here. This is all positivity over here, even if it's like positivity, whatever you want to call it. But no, I found myself using ChatGPT to make these Instagram posts and it just wasn't working for me. Like, it didn't sound like me. And, I just posted like maybe 20 minutes ago about a nighttime routine, or having a nighttime routine that'll set you up for a really good morning. And in my caption, I wrote in my voice. Like, I didn't like ask ChatGPT to come up with me because that is what I would have done before. Like, okay, ChatGPT, come up with this cool caption about how important nighttime routines, and it'll give you some like corporate sounding or VC statement sounding, thing of like, here's why you should have this morning routine because it's good to wake up and you'll have all these good hormones in your body when you wake up. Who talks like that unless it's like a scientist or the person who wrote that thesis statement? So I literally was all like, if your mornings suck, it's probably because your nighttime routine sucks. And I know that sounds very blunt and to the point, but it's true. Like, chances are if you are waking up feeling really bad in the morning, it's probably because what you're doing at night is not working for you. And yeah, I could have said it nicer, but I feel like when you kind of are just like a little crass in your content, it gets people's attention. And it's just so interesting because I'm not gonna lie, in real life, off of social media, I am a pretty crass person. Like people would, if they described me in a few words, crass would probably be one of them. Very upfront, very direct, outspoken sometimes, dry, maybe even sardonic. That's how I would describe myself. Sardonic being probably the perfect word to describe me. Yeah, that's me. And I don't like to show that in my content that much, especially this long form content, because that doesn't mean I'm not a nice person. It's just I do tend to be very upfront. Like if I were to be like this big sis advice corner thing, you guys would tear me to shreds because the way I would be like, you're probably a little slow. Like, and you can't say that to people. And I know that. So the fact that I have some tact when it comes to that type of stuff is good. But doing a big sis corner over here, it would not be. And I never want it to be that. Like, I don't want to be big sis, auntie chronicles or anything like that. And I hate to see it when someone is entering their 30s do that. Because you do not have to do big sis, auntie chronicles, big mama. Don't do that. I see that so much when people enter their 30s, and that's a topic for another day. But I don't like that. Like this page over here is for a page where we exchange ideas and have the conversations about, I don't know, creative productivity. This is not over here about advice, dating. Although I do feel like I have great dating advice. Nobody ever takes it in real life. But again, another topic for a live or something. Like if I ever do lives, we'll talk about dating. But not today. We are doing soft, creative productivity right now because I definitely got off track there. But oversimplified way of doing something is not the best way either. And that is because you get away from yourself. You will get away from yourself trying to oversimplify everything. Like some things, it's okay to be a little bit deep or abstract. I personally like to abstract ideas out and put them in my content because those who it resonates with will like cling on to it, because I have a few people who comment on my videos now, and when I talk about this stuff, they're there. Even if it's a couple weeks late, that's fine. This is evergreen content in my opinion, so I'm cool with it. But trying to take shortcuts is, I promise you, it is not the way. It is not. For a minute there, I was using ChatGPT to speak for me, and that is a shortcut. And the other side of that, I will say, is it takes away from my creativity using ChatGPT because I'm putting my creativity into this engine or this language learning model and giving it all my ideas and just telling it to regurgitate back to me pretty much. So I'm putting that energy into a void, and I don't like that. I don't like the way that feels. So it's all like, wait, this was already my idea. Why am I telling you and you're just telling it back to me when I can just do it? Like I added an extra step. I actually overcomplicated. Trying to oversimplify it actually made it harder. How? Crazy how that works, right? So yeah, I feel like what you put your energy into also matters when it comes to using AI. So whatever side you are on when it comes to AI, if you're creative, I will say definitely limit the use. Use it sparingly. At least Google it first before you try to use one of the AIs at the very least. It's weird because Google now has that big AI overview, and I hate that thing because I looked up something and it was like, it was something about baking, and it was all like, yes, it is safe to consume raw eggs. And I was like, now, that is not true. And it was weird because when I refreshed it, then it said no. So I was like, okay, I don't like that. This was all over the place today, but this is what happens when you don't write out a script. I did not write out a script today because I really wanted this to kind of come from me and just me. Because sometimes when I script, I make it sound very corporate. I tend to do that. Like, if you ever want me to write an email for you, I can make it sound like AI. It's not, but it's me. It's all me. But, you know, I sound very corporate sometimes. I'm so sorry if this is all over the place. I love to give you guys anecdotes in my videos, and I want to do that more because, like, it's fun. This is conversation starters, and I've said this before. This isn't facts. This is not me preaching to you. I promise. Like, I never want to come off like that. I want this to be a conversation starter. So yeah, you guys tell me what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.